The next few lessons that we're going to look at will be adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing integers. These are critical lessons as foundations to doing everything else you're going to do in algebra. Now, the first operation we're going to look at is adding integers. And it's nice, at least initially, to look at this on a number line. Okay. Adding integers can be visualized by using a number line. A positive number can be represented on a number line of an appropriate length by pointing to the right. A negative number by an arrow of appropriate length pointing to the left. So this is not really adding anything right now, but if I want to talk about adding to, then depending on where I need to start, I'm going to draw an arrow of length 2, and it will take me from one place to another because it was positive 2. If I'm going to talk about adding a negative 3, I'm going to draw an arrow of length 3, but it's going to go to the left because it's negative. Okay, so positive to the right, negative to the left. I'll do a few examples. I don't want to start with the one that was actually there, but what if I said to use a number line to talk about 2 plus 3? Now I'm going to draw a hand-drawn number line. It's not going to be anything fancy. Okay, for the first number, it is a positive 2. So a positive 2, I'm going to start at 0. I always start at 0 for the first number. And I'm going to draw 2, a length 2, and it's going to go to the right because it's positive. So that represents the positive 2. I'm going to add to it a positive 3. Because it's positive, I'm going to go to the right. I'm going to draw an arrow 3 blocks long, and I start it where I ended the other one. It is sometimes called tip to tail. So now from that, I'm going to add 1, 2, 3 blocks. Where I land is the answer. So this is 2 plus 3. They were both positive, and I end up with 5. And I certainly understand you did not really need a number line to do that. I just wanted to talk about what it's like to use a number line. All right, let's look at one. I'll draw another number line. What if I have negative 1 plus negative 2? You will find in these lessons that if you have a negative quantity and it comes after an operational symbol, they'll put it in parentheses. That is just to make sure that these two symbols are not sitting right by each other. If it's a negative number starting the expression, they won't put it in parentheses. Okay, let's see what we do with this one. All right, a negative 1, well, because it's negative, I'm going to go to the left, and it's going to be 1 unit long. Once again, I start at 0. Negative 1 looks just like that. I'm going to add to it. Now, adding to it means that I start there, and I'm going to do an array that is 2 long, and it's going to be left also. So 1, 2. That's negative 2. When I put them tip to tail, that meant that I was adding them. Negative 1 plus negative 2, and it leaves me at negative 3. All right, now I'm going to zip back up to a pretty number line. Let's suppose that we had this expression, 5 plus negative 2. Okay, for the 5, I start at 0, just like I've been saying, and I go 5 units to the right because it was positive. I do tip to tail, starting right there. I'm going to go negative 2. Well, negative 2 tells me to go left 2. So I'll go back 2 and end right there. And there's my answer. It is 3. When you have positives and negatives that you're adding up, you're going to be going in reverse directions, which means you're going to end up subtracting the values. So you see a 5 and a -2. They're going to go in opposite directions. Take the smaller one from the larger one. Keep the sign of the larger one. We'll talk about that as we do each example. You're not going to want to always draw a number line for sure. All right, number 1. It says to use a number line, but you don't have to actually show it on the computer number line, but I'm going to do it on my number line. All right, it says -5 plus -1. All right, so I start at 0. I always start at 0. -5, well, it's negative, so it's left. So I'm going to go to right here. I'm going to add to it -1. Since it's negative, I'm going to go more to the left. I'm going to start there, and I'm going to go one more. So this was my -5. Doing tip to tail meant that I added them. This is -1. What's my sum? -6. Certainly, we'll write down these rules at the end, but a negative plus a negative, they're going in the same direction, so you're going to add them up and keep it negative. Let's try that idea now. All right, so now on number 2, I've got -1 plus -7, and I think I was saying, I'm sorry, I had a little technical problem, that I am going left 1 and then going left 7. The rule being, if they're both negative, add the numbers, add their absolute values, add 1 and 7, but keep the sign. So this is going to be 8. Keep the sign, it's going to be -8. Number 3, I have -24 plus 24. If you think about the number line, you would start at 0 and go left 24, but then from that tip, you would turn around and go 24 back to the right. You should end at 0. The other rule says if you have a negative and a positive, under the addition rules, you're going to subtract the little one from the big one and keep the sign of the big one. Well, these are the same size. You're just going to take 24 from 24 and get 0. I'll write down the rules as we conclude the lesson, and you can pause and write the rules yourself. Number 4, I have a +2 plus a -1. Okay, the rules. If you've got a positive and a negative, just subtract the little one from the big one, keep the sign of the big one. Well, 1 is the smaller one. Take 1 from 2, you get 1. The dominant or bigger sign was with the 2, so it is a +1. -18 plus 0. Well, if you add 0 to anything, you get the original number, so I get -18. Let's look at 6. +3 and a -12. They have different signs. On a number line, that would mean that you'd go right 3, and lost everything, sorry, that you would go right 3 and you would turn around and go left 12. Because you're going in opposite directions, you'll end up doing some subtraction. So here's what I suggest you think about. Take 3 from 12, that gives you 9. The dominant number was the negative, so it is -9. You could see that on a number line starting at 0. I'm not going to put all the numbers on here, but you would go right to 3, but then you would take 12 units back that way. You would end up at -9. All right. Now, some of these you may want to grab a calculator, but I would not ask the calculator to figure out the signs. Just let it figure out some arithmetic for you if you need the help. All right, number 9, -530 plus -100. The rules. If they're both negative, they're going in the same direction. So you actually add up the numbers and keep the sign. That is going to be 630. 530 plus 100 is 630. They're both negative, so the sum is negative. Let's see. Number 10. +14 plus -2. Opposite directions means you're going to end up subtracting. 14 minus 2 gives me 12. The bigger number was positive, so it's +12. -7 plus 6. One negative, one positive. Okay, different directions. You're going to have to subtract. Take 6 from 7, you get 1. The dominant number was the negative, so you would have gone more in a negative direction. You should have -1. Number 12. -61 and +36. Now here's a case that maybe you want to grab your calculator. What you have to decide is, because they have different signs, they're going in different directions, you're going to end up subtracting, finding their difference. So just thinking absolute values, it's a 61 minus a 36, and I get that their difference is 25. Look at the numbers now. The dominant number was the negative. It was more negative, so that will be -25. On number 13, you have one negative and one positive, so once again, different directions, you're going to have to subtract. So on your calculator, you might take 59 minus 26. You get 33. Which sign do you keep? You keep the sign of the dominant number, the number that had the bigger absolute value. So this time it's the 59, which is a positive, so it's +33. So looking back at 12 and 13, number 12, one negative, one positive. Yes, we subtracted. The bigger absolute value number was negative, so we got -25. But on this one, the bigger one was positive, so we got +33. It's not convenient to use a number line anymore because these have gotten so large. All right, number 14, a +118 and a -170. Okay, one positive and one negative, different directions. So to do it, you would take the bigger number, at least the bigger absolute value number, 170. You would subtract 118. You'll get 52. Now, what sign does it get? It gets the sign of the number that had the larger absolute value. I like to call it the dominant number. So it's -52. Whoops. Let me make that go away. I'm sorry, had a little technical trouble on this. All right, now let's look at these last two that have more than just two numbers. All right, let's look at 18. I have 14 plus -4 plus -4 plus 14. I'm going to go left to right. Okay, because Aunt Sally would tell me these are all addition, they all have the same priority. Let's just move left to right. These parentheses are simply number holders. All right, a +14 and a -4. Different signs, different directions, subtract. 4 from 14 is 10. The dominant number was the positive, so it's +10. And I'll copy down the rest. Next part, +10 and -4. One positive, one negative, different directions, gonna subtract. 4 from 10 is 6. The positive was the bigger number, so it's +6 plus 14. Now I just have a positive plus a positive, which gives me 20. The sum is 20. You're only going to handle two numbers at a time. Let's look at this last one. I have -6 plus 15 plus 4 plus -24. The first sum, because these are all sums, is a -6 and a +15. Different signs, different directions, need to subtract. 6 from 15 is 9. The dominant, I'm saying quote, bigger number is 15. It's positive, so their difference is positive. So I have +4 plus -24. All right, moving on. 9 plus 4, well, that's just going to give me 13 plus -24. Last one. Okay, one positive, one negative, different directions, going to subtract. 13 from 24 would give me 11. Oh my goodness. The larger of the two numbers in absolute value is the negative number, so it gets to decide the sign. Okay, so let's summarize the rules. You might want to, when I get these written down, you might want to pause or at least write them as we go along. This is for addition of integers. If you have a positive plus a positive, you add and you will get a positive. If you have a negative plus a negative, you will add and you will get a negative. But if you have a positive plus a negative, or a negative plus a positive, anytime you have different signs, you're going different directions. That means you're going to subtract the smaller number from the larger. You're going to keep the sign of the, I'm going to put in quotes, larger, because positives are actually always larger, but the larger or the dominant number. So the big one rules. That's the thing to remember. So maybe take a minute, pause this, and write that down. Even though these are rules for addition, when the signs are alike, you do add. But when the signs are different, because of the change in direction, you're actually going to subtract. And you're going to keep the sign of the larger or the dominant number. It's the number with the larger absolute value. Okay, so work on your homework, doing a few of those.